Did you know that Adolf Hitler, Joseph Stalin, and Sigmund Freud all lived in the same neighborhood? In 1913, all three future icons were living in Vienna, Austria, completely unaware that they would change the world as we know it. They were just a young, unknown artist, a little guy working for a bank, and a doctor who had just published a book about his theories on the psychology of dreams. They lived just a few blocks from each other in this neighborhood called Vienna, which was full of cafes, bars, and restaurants. And to this day, there is a plaque on the sidewalk where Hitler lived. Can you imagine? Back then, Vienna was one of the most exciting cities in the world. It was home to 5 million people from all over Europe, as well as beautiful buildings, world-class art, and a thriving intellectual scene. People would come from all over to see the famous sights, including the Hofburg Palace, which was the winter residence of the Habsburg dynasty. It was also a very cosmopolitan city with people from all walks of life living and working there. There were lots of Jews, for example, and many of them worked in banking or as doctors. This was especially true in the city's bustling financial district, which was home to some of the most important banks in Europe. One of the most famous residents of Vienna was Sigmund Freud, who had recently published a book about his theories on the psychology of dreams. His ideas were controversial, but also very influential, and he was considered to be one of the most brilliant minds of his time. Another famous resident was Adolf Hitler, who was an unknown artist when he moved to Vienna. He lived in a small apartment with his mother and sister and spent his days painting and trying to sell his artwork. He was also very interested in politics and would often argue with his friends about the future of Austria. Then there was Joseph Stalin, who was a little guy working for a bank in the financial district. He was ambitious and hardworking, but nobody knew it at the time. All three men would become famous for very different reasons. Freud for his theories on psychoanalysis, Hitler for being the leader of the Nazi Party, and Stalin for being the dictator of the Soviet Union. But in 1913, they were just three of millions of people living in Vienna, completely unaware that they would change the world as we know it. So next time you're in Vienna, be sure to visit the neighborhood of Vienna and see the plaque where Hitler lived. It's a great way to learn about one of the most important periods in history